This podcast is brought to you from Grantwood AEA, an educational service agency that supports school districts in eastern Iowa with a focus on equity, excellence, and efficiency in education for all children.
Welcome to episode 61 of the EdTech Takeout, the podcast that serves up bite-sized technology tips for teachers. My name is Jonathan Wiley, and this is Mindy Carney.
What's up?
Hey, what's up?
Not much. Not much.
No.
Same
old.
I was gonna come on and because it's April 1st for you and I today.
It is. Who knows when this podcast will go out?
Yeah, right. But I was trying to think of some April Fool's joke, and I'm like, I don't know, it probably wouldn't play all that well because when people actually hear it, it won't be April Fool's Day.
Yeah, I actually saw some tech companies pledging not to do April Fool's jokes.
Why?
Because I think it feels kind of contrived in recent years, or people are expecting it, and it's not really a joke anymore.
So maybe that's the April Fool's joke, and then they'll actually do it.
Well, there's all the Google ones, and people always say, well, what's the Google one
Amber
today?
Said there was a Google one today that was something with your calendar, you play a game or something, and then your calendar disappears.
Your events just fall off your calendar, which would be kind of nice, actually.
Oh God, not this week. I don't know which way's up this week.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so let's get started. News and follow-up.
Yes.
So this is interesting because I fell in love with Priority Drive, and we shared it on the podcast, I don't know, a month ago, right?
Correct.
And then we were in a team meeting last Friday, and Priority Drive disappeared for all of us.
It did.
Yeah, just like that. Just like that. It was just gone.
Uh-huh.
But apparently it's coming for everyone, right?
Yeah, so Google did release this blog post saying, work smarter with the new priority page in Drive. And that was what Mindy was talking about when we had the beta release of it. Right. And we were trying to give you guys an inside track.
And it wasn't last week. It was 3 weeks ago.
Okay,
Jeez,
yeah. Did I say last week?
No, I did.
Okay.
Gosh, okay. Yeah, so anyway, I'm sorry. Keep going.
And the blog post at the bottom says, extended rollout, potentially longer than 15 days, starting March 18th. Scheduled release, which is not the rapid release people, from April 1st, but we are rapid release. I feel like we should have had it by now.
I think we're in trouble because we shared it before we were supposed to share it.
Maybe.
And now they're slapping our wrists.
So have a look in your Drive for that.
Is it there? Tell us, people.
Yeah, we would like to know.
Do you have Priority Drive now?
Because we don't.
Yeah, I miss it.
Yeah?
Because I use Start Items. So much beforehand, and then once I started using Priority Drive, I stopped using Start. So now I don't know where anything is.
Well, I'm kind of curious if, those workspaces and things you set up before, if they're just going to reappear again.
Back up?
Or if it's just going to reset it and wipe it.
I think it's going to reset it.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
I feel like that too.
But, bring it back. I'm missing it a lot.
Priority Drive.
Priority Drive, yeah.
Here, kind of.
Yeah. So this was new to me, and I didn't click on your link because I just wanted you to explain it. What's going on with WeVideo and Google Docs? These two don't seem to go together for me in my head. It's this is interesting.
Well, I think they've always had this nice tie-in with Drive where you can pull your video over into WeVideo.
Yeah.
They released a video where they've got this new feature where they call it linked resources.
Okay.
And you know how when you're creating a video or something, you maybe have a script together, or maybe you storyboard it in Google Slides because that's so much better than drawings.
Yep. Amen.
And
all of that stuff. Come back to that.
Yeah, I'm just going to gloss over that bit. All of that stuff now you can bring in almost like Priority Drive. You make this little workspace where you can have connected files that are associated with your video project. And they're also in your media bin, so you can have docs or slides or sheets. And if you want to collaborate on those and you're working on the video and maybe you make an edit and you're like, hey, I've done this, and you can update the doc inside of WeVideo and then go back to your script or your video.
Interesting.
And switch between those inside of WeVideo without switching tabs and stuff. So I think that's nice, but my suggestion, I'd like to see you have your media bin up in the top left-hand corner, usually in your preview window over on the right, and your timeline on the bottom.
Yeah.
I want to see a preview of the Google Doc in the top corner, and then preview the video over on the right and the timeline on the bottom. So if I'm doing a voiceover or something, I can just read the script
all right there
inside a WeVideo. So that's my feature suggestion.
All right.
For WeVideo.
WeVideo, we know you're listening.
Yeah.
Jonathan Wiley has made a recommendation.
I mean, it's a good first step. They're on that way.
Sure.
It's
and maybe
all
it
in
will
the same
come yet
platform.
too. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd like a live preview.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, there you go. Something.
So this is new, I believe, right? The Translate in Google Sheets in the last 3 weeks.
Yes.
Right? Because Cece shared this too, I think. So now within Google Sheets, they have a new command called Google Translate. And you can translate like from Spanish to English. I don't know how you do it. I mean, the formula's here. And I've seen demos of it and a GIF of how to do it, but I haven't played with it at all. But it looks like you create one column that might be like your English word, and then your next column you would put in your formula for Google Translate, and then it will automatically translate it for you. And there's not a ton of languages, right? Does it say anywhere
I believe
here
it's
how many? Oh, 100.
More than 100. Yes, all the languages.
More than 100, yeah.
All the languages supported by Google Translate can be used.
Oh, sure. Well, I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Could you start your formula with equal Google Translate and choose the cells you want? And what's fun is that this is a blog post from Jake Miller,
right? Yep.
You can just do it for the first one, and then that drag down the corner, and it will just do the rest of the column for you.
Oh wow! Listen to you. Yep. Yeah, you're right. That does work. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just works like any other formula, I guess.
So it's kind of a neat little tool, right?
I'm trying to get better at Sheets. So.
What have you been working on?
Well, it's good. Doing? It's a long-term goal, Mindy.
Oh,
so,
like me. Yeah. Like learning how to write Python by the time I'm 40. Okay.
Let's go with that. So we'll see how that goes. Like a year from now,
I'll
and then
meet
maybe
you
I
in
can
October.
report back.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
All right. So you were super excited about this. 2 new iPads from Apple. What's up?
I thought we'd mention them just because they kind of fall in the budget of what schools may want to look at.
Sure.
And so there's that $329 iPad that
just iPad
is available for schools at $299, I think.
Something like that, right?
It's 9.7-inch screen. They just redid the iPad Mini, which hadn't been updated for like 3 years or something.
Sure.
And now there's a brand new iPad Mini out. It is $399. I know.
$399 for a Mini?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
It's actually spec'd up a little bit higher than the original iPad.
Okay.
It's got the same processors as the iPhone XS and XS Max.
Oh. Is it the same camera?
It has better cameras than the original iPad or the 9.7 iPad. It also got Apple Pencil support and things like that.
Oh,
so
that's good. Yeah.
I know some people think like younger kids, littles. Are they called?
Littles?
The littles, like the
Don't
smaller device.
Littles, yeah.
Littles, like the smaller device sometimes.
Yeah.
So, and it's available again. I wouldn't have told people to buy an iPad Mini before because it's so old and not updated for so long. But now they're bringing it right back up to date.
Okay.
And they revived the iPad Air.
Okay.
Do you remember? They had the iPad Air, then they had the iPad Air 2, and then that kind of got replaced by the iPad Pro. And so now they've got the iPad Air 3rd generation, which is got like a 10
I thought there was an iPad Air 3. There wasn't?
No.
Okay.
So this has got a 10.5-inch screen, kind of the same as that old iPad Pro 10.5 had.
Yeah.
And also Apple Pencil support, and that's $499, which used to be like, that was the default price for iPads way back when. So if you're looking for something with a bit of a bigger screen and a little bit more horsepower than the original iPad, I think it just bridges the gap between the 9.7 iPad and the Pros.
Yeah.
That was like a $329 to $799 gap before, and now there's kind of that middle ground if you need just a little bit more. So, same specs as the iPad Mini, just bigger screen, really.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yay, iPads!
New iPads. But I've also got another Apple follow-up, which is Apple Classroom now works with Macs.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which is kind of interesting, I think, because it came out and it only supported iPads. So this was, and I keep meeting people like this saying, we don't have Google Classroom. Should I try Apple Classroom? And I'm like, no, it's a completely different thing.
Not the same thing.
Not the same thing. And so you can manage iPads. You can see kids' screens. You can send links to the whole class at once. You can lock screens. You can mute screens. You can do all that stuff.
How successful is it, though? Have you ever heard of a classroom that actually has no problems and it works really well?
So when that first I usually hear there's this one iPad that won't connect or something, and I don't know why. And so, then they brought out a Mac app that let you manage the iPads, and now you can manage Macs from either the iPad or the Mac. So
interesting.
Yeah, it's something. You could try it out and see if you can get it to work.
Yeah, we'd love to hear if you're using it well.
Yeah.
All right, so the world went crazy over remove.bg like a month ago, right? It was like the new hot tool.
I think so.
We mentioned this before. So the cool thing about remove was that you take a picture of yourself and it would remove the background. So it was kind of like green screen, but without having to have a green screen. You could layer your image on top of another image. And now you're able to do not just people, but other things. Now, I tried this the other day with something else and it didn't work.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Amber and I are doing a wedding theme for our one-to-one presentation for Makey, Meeky, and Scratch, and about how you can marry the two together really well. And so I wanted to take the background out of the image that she sent me of the Scratch cat, which is the logo for Scratch. And it said, there's like nothing in this picture or something like that.
I wonder
if that was interesting. I don't know if it's because it's a logo and it's not an actual real life
if it's cartoony.
Thing. Yeah. So I
think it uses artificial intelligence to say, what do I know about objects and what they're supposed to look like?
But it did do it for the Makey character that she made.
Oh,
like
really?
She drew hair on it. It cut the hair to everything. It was all right there. It just pulled out the background, but not the Scratch logo. So I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting. I tried it with like a picture, just a random picture of it was a camera and it had a camera strap. And I was curious as to how well it would like go around the edges of the strap because it was kind of thin on the picture. Yeah. Did a really nice job.
Yeah.
So
it's a really cool tool, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Mileage may vary, but if it can save you a trip to Photoshop or somebody who knows Photoshop, then more
Use
power.
it.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah. And happy birthday to Gmail.
Apparently it's 15 years old.
I had no idea.
I had no idea either, but there's a blog post on Google. It came out today. Hopefully it's not an April Fool's.
It's probably, it's April Fool's.
But it said it launched on April 1st, 2004. And if you click that link, you'll see a screenshot.
Your calendar will disappear.
No, you'll see a screenshot of the original Gmail and what it looked like in 2004. Is it ugly? Yeah, it looks it looks like the web looked like in 2004, I have to say.
Click on it and see what it looks like here.
Did you ever see in the run-up?
Oh, yeah. Look at that. It's pretty.
In the run-up to Captain Marvel, they had like a Captain Marvel site that was themed around like the 1990s web or something.
It was awesome.
So it's like that, I guess.
You kind of forget like how crazy.
You do.
It was the Wild West of the internet back then. Stuff all over the place.
So there you go. Happy birthday, Gmail.
Happy birthday, Gmail. All right, up next, serve to you piping hot. Our main course today is a freemium Edtech model. So Wiley and I spent a lot of time complaining, me particularly, I shouldn't put words in your mouth, but complaining about all of our Edtech services that are now requiring subscriptions or memberships or one-time purchases, all of those things. So we thought maybe we'd hash this out a little bit.
Try and hash it out.
I
think it's a tricky conversation to have. So I thought we'd start with, I don't want this to be like condescending, but I think there is this, assumption that things are free and that we could have them for free sometimes, and we don't always think about the associated cost with it.
Right.
And I'm going to use our podcast as an example. Sure. It's free for everyone to listen to. We don't have ads or anything else, and so you guys can just consume as much of this as you want to, but there are costs that are associated with producing this podcast.
Right.
And, Mindy and I are talking into microphones now that we had to purchase for the podcast.
Right.
And these are, I think, the second set of microphones we went through. I'm looking at one of them actually on the table here.
We've got a microphone museum.
Yeah, we started with some Yetis, and then we moved up, and these microphones are plugged into an audio interface, which is plugged into my MacBook Pro. And we didn't purchase the MacBook Pro for the podcast, but it's necessary for the podcast that we record.
And we pay for hosting.
We pay for hosting to upload the audio files and
man hours.
Yes, there's our time. I mean, we are not paid to podcast at Grabwood.
Well, I guess are we? Well, I mean, we're not. Let's say like a extra paycheck that I'm cashing.
We'd probably be fired if we were. But, but yeah, it's part of our time to do that, and we enjoy doing that. We're not doing this as a pitch to ask for money, but these are all costs associated with producing something. And I guess if you are making some kind of service for teachers, I mean, if you can do all that for free, then more power to you. But at the end of the day, people have costs associated with the things that they do, and that's why we end up having to think about paying for some of these things.
Yeah, right. So it kind of makes me think, too, when you said that about like Today's Meet and how that was free for so long. And then that blog post came out from the guy and he's like, I just can't afford to continue to host all of this. Yeah. Wasn't that? And the upkeep of it and the troubleshooting.
And it was also the GDPR stuff where he would have to change his model in order to meet all this stuff. And that would have cost him much more money. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's exactly that stuff.
Yeah. And the other thing I would say is that you have to remember that a lot of the tools that you've grown to love and maybe rely on were free to begin with because they want you to start to rely on some of those tools, right? And so when they first get started, that's a great marketing tool, is to get you in and using it and being like, I can't live without this tool. I'm willing to pay for it.
Yeah, and I'd say the other side to that is a lot of them will have started off with a much lower number of users. Sure. And then as they become popular, they have tons of users, and then suddenly they need more bandwidth and more storage, and and that costs more money.
Yeah. So I would say, first of all, if you're not using Google or utilizing all of the tools in Google, those things are free, right? Your school doesn't pay for any of those things. And one of the things that I find is that a lot of times when I'm working with teachers, they want to know what the latest tool is or the newest tool, or they're always looking for, something new, something better. What I think is really important for us to remember is that those Google tools are free and they are very versatile and very flexible. And sometimes it's better to use a tool that you're very familiar with in a different type of way, or trying to mold it to what you need, because first of all, it saves you time. It saves your students time because they're already familiar with that tool. But it's also free.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, finding ways to use those tools, I think. And there's so many great Google tools that, so always start with what you already have and trying to use it in maybe outside the box ways too, if you need to.
Yeah, those tools are free. You don't have to relearn how to use them. You just need to think about.
And they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, those Google tools aren't going
for the most part. Yeah.
Right? Except Priority Inbox or Priority Drive.
Inbox and Priority Drive. Yes.
Right. But like Docs isn't going away. Slides isn't going away.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And, it's just a case of thinking about different ways to use the same tools. And that's why you follow lots of interesting people online, and they'll give you ideas on how to use those tools differently. If you read people's blog posts, they'll be like, here's how to use Google Slides for digital storytelling. Right. Was it created for digital storytelling? No, of course not. It was created to do like PowerPoint presentation type things. Right. But there was no reason why you couldn't use it by like resizing your slides to be letter sized or whatever else. And you guys have been making GIFs with them and stop motion and all kinds of other stuff. Different ways to use the tools you already have. And if you're not sure, ask around. Email Mindy.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's my favorite thing to do, is trying to figure out how to use a tool I already have to, do something that I needed to. But there will come a time probably that there's something that you really need, and Google, you can't make it work, or the workaround is more complicated than it needs to be.
Yes.
So that takes us to freemium tools of sorts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I'm going to bring up Seesaw because no Google tool really like that of sorts, right?
Yeah.
But what's great about Seesaw is that you can really get by, I think, on using the free account, especially if you're just getting started. Eventually, if you get to the point where you really become a power user, then making that jump to, paying the $120 for the year or whatever is something that you might want to look into. But using that free account is pretty stellar. And there's other tools out there like that too, that the freemium, the free part of those accounts are still pretty amazing.
So remind me about the Seesaw payment structure. There's the free, and then is there one for teachers?
There's one just for teachers, which is $120 a year. I think it's still $120. And then there's the school, Seesaw for schools, which all of our schools, it's always a numbers game of how many students you have enrolled, but it's around $5 a student unless you get into really big school districts.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So that's a good example of one of those tools where you can do a lot for free.
Yes.
And if you need more, then you're probably just going to end up paying for more because...
But you should never just hop into like a membership either unless
No, I agree.
So,
yeah. I mean, a lot of these places have 1 month free trial, but I feel like you need more than a 1 month free trial. You need an extended period of time to look at something. And I'd put probably... I know maybe you might disagree here, but I'm going to put Canva in that bucket too, because I think there is still a lot you can do for free. And I know there's stuff in there that you still have to pay for, but if you know where to go and find images and little graphics and things to bring in there instead of using theirs, there's still a lot you can do in Canva for free.
And there's still a lot there's still images and stuff you can use in Canva, but they have really started to limit the amount of free images inside Canva.
They have, I think. Yeah. But that's the business model.
Right,
that's what we were talking about before.
Absolutely.
There are costs associated
and
with
we use
this.
Canva enough that, we've kind of tossed around the idea of, do you think we really need to purchase an account, and purchase the Pro? Is it Pro? Is that what they call it, I think?
Canva for work or
Canva
something like
for
that.
Business, or something like that. But yeah, Canva's a really great one. I think that you can definitely use and get away with, without having to pay for stuff. Or the other thing about Canva that's kind of nice is that if you do find something that you can't live without, you can purchase just that one thing for like $1.
Yeah, that's it.
Which is kind of nice.
You don't have to subscribe to a plan or anything. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I've done that before.
Pay as you go.
I have to have this image.
Yeah.
I'll pay the $1.
I have to. Yeah.
All right. So, you have Canvas on here, which is good. There are, a lot of the LMSs out there do have free accounts for like solo teachers.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing about it, though, and this is where then, sometimes it's worth it to pay, is that your students have to re-log into your class. So if you're using Canvas and your students are logging in to your classroom, they have to log themselves out and then go down 2 doors down and log themselves into that teacher's class if they're also using Canvas. So that's where the pay structure is nice with Canvas, is the students can get all of those things without logging out and logging back into a different class, and that gets kind of hairy.
Yeah, I just feel like if you're in a district where they buy an LMS for the whole school, then that's great. But if they don't, and it's something
and we do
you
have
want
districts like that, that don't have a
district-wide
standard, this is what we're using.
Yeah, and if you just want to experiment, maybe you could, put a case forward later on your behalf and say, hey, I've been using this with my kids all year. This is what we're doing. This is how we organize all our stuff and go from there. But yeah, you basically, I think with a lot of those LMS things, you basically get access to all the tools and features. What you miss is things like that school-wide collaboration where you can move kids between different classes or have like a dashboard overview of kids across all subject areas and all that good stuff.
And the SIS integration.
That's
a big...
Yes.
And once you become a power user, you're like, I have to have this part of it.
Yes, I don't like
being able to
doing double entry for my grades. Yes.
It's awful.
Yeah.
What else out there? Freemium tools.
I put formative on there.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? That formative assessment type thing?
Yeah, I haven't looked at ever the paid part of it, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so their paid element is for more district-wide kind of data where you can collaborate in teams and do common assessments. And I know we have a lot of schools looking at, common formative assessments and things now. You see the data for all the classes and all the students at one place. And you can have a content library that you can just have like for your school, like if you want to create assessments and not have those necessarily public for the world, but just for, I don't know, your team, then you can have those on there too. But kind of like those LMSs, kind of like Seesaw, if you just want to use it as a standalone for your class, data for your kids on the things that you're assessing them on, you don't really have any restrictions on like question types or anything else on there. It's all easy to get in and try for free.
Yeah. And I think the important thing to remember that if you are going to pay for something, that I think you kind of figure it out. Like I am using this, and it needs to be something that's flexible in itself. So you don't, if you're purchasing something, want to purchase something, I don't think anyway, this is of course my opinion, that is a very narrow use for it. You want something that you can use in a lot of different ways, and that your students can maybe use as a creation tool too, or something that is going to be worth the funds that you have a hard time coming across.
Yeah, maybe not something that you do on that 1 week every year on that one unit that you think would be really, it might be a great tool for that, but if you can make your money go further and use it a few times throughout the year, then that's more bang for your buck. Right.
So, I mean, are we going to bring up Padlet?
Sure. We can talk about Padlet.
So,
again.
Yeah. So this is what's interesting to me about Padlet is you still get your 2 or 3 for free. I don't know if it's 2 or 3, it's somewhere in there, but they charge monthly, $12 monthly.
Yep.
Right? Or $100 for the year.
Yeah.
So how much do you have to use Padlet to really make that worth it?
I mean, it is one of those tools that we were just saying, don't buy ones that are too niche that you can only use in that 1 week a year. But it's one of those tools that you could use all the time if you really wanted to.
Yeah. And you can have a ton of them.
And you can, yeah.
And it hosts your video, your podcasts,
They've got all the different templates and things you use on there. I mean, it's hard to say no, and it's less than something like Seesaw, but it has a different purpose, obviously. Yeah. So, it's a real on the fence one. That one, I think. It's
expensive.
Yeah.
So,
but what is expensive?
I don't know. The thing about it is, like, when I had a very supportive school, obviously, but this would have been something that I would have purchased on my own, right? Yeah. So it does get to a point, I think, that I'm definitely not encouraging teachers to, spend their own money, but I know that you are out there. So isn't that some of it? Like, what am I willing to spend my money on?
Mm-hmm. Who pays for it? Is it the teacher? Is it the school?
It should be the school. It should be the school.
It should.
But we know that that's not what's happening out there, right?
Yeah. The principal's going to have 40 teachers coming to them with 40 different things that they all want to buy, sort of thing. And,
right.
And maybe that's... At some point, you look at that and you say, "Oh, well, I've got 10 teachers that want Padlet. Maybe we should look at getting a district-wide or a school-wide type of plan here, or something like that." But,
right.
Yeah.
But there are other things out there, right, for you to. So, one of the things that I would point out about Seesaw in particular, and I know lots of other tools have this because I actually came across another one that I'm going to share during Tech Nuggets, but that there are ambassadorships out there, and a lot of times it. Like with Seesaw, to become an ambassador, you have to like watch a video and take a quiz, and then you have to present to your, school or district or whatever 2 times a year about Seesaw, and then you get your Seesaw Pro account for free. Mm-hmm. So it probably takes an hour to get that for that $120, right? To pay for your own personal Seesaw Pro.
You're kind of working for Seesaw.
I'm not working for Seesaw.
Well, not you, but these people who are getting these free...
Am I working for Seesaw?
These people that are doing the free subscriptions are for themselves by jumping through a few hoops.
But I don't think do you really become an ambassador for a product that you don't believe in anyway?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
But, it's... Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. It feels like you're being compensated for your evangelism.
Sure.
In some ways.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not saying that's good or bad.
Yeah,
I'm just
right.
saying,
But if it's a tool you really believe in, you'd be sharing it anyway. Mm-hmm. Right?
You would be.
That's true. I don't know.
You might as well get something out of it.
Yeah.
So I know when I was in the classroom, maybe this is just because it was a long time ago, but I used to get given like a budget of money each year that I would spend at the start of the year. Maybe you were the same, or I would buy like cardstock, and I would buy like, I don't know, pencils and all the materials and things that I thought I'd need for the year. And I had to choose from this big stationery catalog type of deal, or order from Staples and get all that stuff in. And I wonder now if we should be like thinking, okay, you've got that budget for like hard materials stuff, but then, we need like what's your digital subscription budget?
Right, yeah.
And,
or is anybody doing that? I'd be really interested from our listeners. Like, is anybody doing that out there? Like, are there any schools that have something that you're like, yeah, my school does a really great job. We get a budget of
X amount for this, X amount for that. And that would be an interesting thing.
How are you guys handling that? We want to know. So, but also, of course, like your APT, PTA, PTO, whatever initials you use it for your parent-teacher organization. We've had, just today you had a request that somebody wanted to see the snap circuits from definitely. A PTA or whatever they call themselves. Also, because we're in Iowa and Ashton Kutcher is like an amazing Iowan.
Yes.
He comes in like every couple years and swoops up all of the Iowa Donors Choose projects out there and just pays for all of them. So Donors Choose in itself is a great program, I think, because you can share that on social media and ask people to. But you hear about that sometimes, like, people with endless amounts of money coming in, swooping in and saving the day on Donors Choose. So that's another good spot, too.
You just have to get lucky sometimes. It happened to me when I was a teacher. It was US Cellular swooped in and paid some. So, they paid for my iPod Touchies.
Oh, nice. See, but was it like Christmas or what?
Yeah, it was. It felt like it for sure.
That's awesome. And then here in Cedar Rapids, anyway, when I was teaching, this tech company no longer exists, but they had grants that you could write every year and super simple, and they were just like handing money out for technology. You just had to apply for it, you know? So sometimes it's just about finding your local businesses that are willing to support you or have they've got some skin in the game too for those kids. So
well, I think Rockwell Collins does that now with their employees. I've worked with people like at the Cedar Rapids Homeschool where one of their parents work there, and they have this program for employees basically where they say if your kids go to a school that is in need of money for something, write up this little proposal, why you would want it and what they would do with the money, and give it to us and we'll look at it. And they basically review and offer out grants for schools as well, which is nice. Good PR for them too.
Yeah, so you just have to find the right people, I guess. That's their best recommendation.
Yeah. So, I think it's one of those things that I think people are being realistic enough that you're going to have to pay for some of these things sometimes. There are services out there that go beyond what you get for free with your Google tools or your Microsoft tools. And if you need something like that, you just got to weigh up the pros and cons, try those free trials.
Yeah, and use the free trials for sure.
Use them for as much as you can before you have to pay for this stuff. But then, think about how is this impacting the teaching or the learning in your classroom, and go from there and think about ways that you can fund it, whether it's going in to see your principal, going to Donors Choose, going to see the PTO, or paying for it yourself.
Yep. All right, so up next, my favorite part of the show is Tech Nuggets. All right, so I actually have 2 tech nuggets from the same place. This was a podcast I had not heard of before called Got Teched.
Okay.
I didn't read it or listen to it. However, they have a nice job with their show notes. And so I don't know how I came across it. I'm like, oh, what's this? So both my tech nuggets come from Nick Johnson's Got Tech podcast. It's actually episode 29. So if you wanted to go and actually listen to it, because they did this really cool thing, Wiley. I thought you'd like it, although I don't know that you know much about basketball, but March Madness. We've had this discussion before, right? March Madness. There's brackets. You pit teams against each other. Okay. So what they did was, I'm going to probably goof this up, but I think they took 40 tools, and then you got to draft 40 tools. So there was 3 guys on this show. Yeah. They drafted which tools they wanted to pit against each other in this March Madness kind of brackety sort of thing. So what I came across in their show notes things, I was just looking at the tools, was this thing called, and I think it's called Edgy. Okay. So it is a way for you to allow your students to annotate on top of text or images as a class, and you can have different kinds of commenting, which I really liked because I thought this was great for younger students. They have emoji commenting. And one of their suggestions then for some of our younger students or even older students too, everybody loves an emoji, was that as a class, you decide what emojis mean what. So if I'm reading something, I can choose my specific emoji, which is coded within my class. So when my classmates see my emoji, they know that this was a spot where it addressed setting or something, or character development or something like that. So there was emoji commenting, text commenting. You can have audio commenting, which is built in, which is nice. And then also threaded comment replies. There's also heat vision. So you can take a look at it and see where the text is getting the most traction with your students or is receiving the most action of sorts, which is kind of neat too. And the students can view that heat vision too. So they can go to specific parts and see where their classmates are spending the most time or stuff like that. So I thought this was kind of a neat tool, one that I hadn't seen before. You get 2 active readings at a time with the free account. However, I saw that once I signed up for the account, I could refer people so that they could purchase the Hero account for 20% off. So I don't really know if that means anything to anybody, but I have a link there of how to. So if you do purchase it, I don't know how much it was because I wasn't obviously going to pay for it, but I thought it was kind of an interesting little tool, one that I hadn't heard of before. So Edgy, and I think their Twitter handle is @EdgyNotes. To be honest, I don't think it's just Edgy, but it's EDJI. It's kind of a fun spelling.
That is definitely a new one for me.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay, so for my tech nugget, I'm going to share something called K20 Learn Strategies, which is from the University of Oklahoma. And I found this via Tony Vincent, so it dropped into my Twitter feed. I think he's using this with his students. And it reminded me of some of the things that you and Gina have been doing recently with your instructional strategies for Hattie. And I'm not saying these are necessarily going to be all ones that are on his list, but it's just fun little instructional strategies you can use in your class. You can sort them by small group, whole class, or individual, and by how much time it takes to complete each strategy. So there's one here that's like called 3-2-1. This short writing activity helps students summarize their understanding of material, evaluate their understanding for gap in knowledge, and communicate this with their teacher. You basically give them a prompt, and they say 3 things that they learned, 2 questions they still have, and 1 thing that they found interesting.
Right.
And it's just this little short, easy, interesting strategy you can use. They've got anchor charts, they've got circle maps, they've got collaborative word clouds, they've got, I don't know, I think there's 115.
There is a ton of stuff on here.
Yes, ton of here. So if you're just thinking new ways you want to try and approach or tackle text or strategies,
if you're tired of using elbow buddies,
yes, your turn and talk partners and all those. So they've got stop and jot. I don't even know what some of these are. Window notes. 115 to choose from here. You can dig in and find some new ideas for teaching topics in your classroom.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Thank you.
I bet. Well, thanks, Tony Vincent.
Yeah, and the University of Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
My next tech nugget is from this Got Tech podcast. It is the GIFIT Chrome extension. And what the GIFIT Chrome extension does is it becomes like an add-on tool in your YouTube. And it allows you to create a GIF of a section of the YouTube. Are you looking at my GIF? Like, what is this? Yes,
yeah.
It's Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So it allows you to make a GIF of either, has to be at least 4 seconds long, up to 10 seconds. You choose the time stamp of where you want that GIF to start and where you want it to end. And it just pulls it for you, allows you to download it. And you can drop it into your Google Doc or your slides or wherever. So one of the conversations that we did have as a team, because I was like, well, how legal is this, right? Can you really pull a GIF from a YouTube video that doesn't belong to you? So first of all, you could pull a GIF from a video that does belong to you. Secondly, if it's within your classroom and as long as you cite what video that came from, we thought that you'd probably be okay. You probably shouldn't use a GIF from a YouTube video that you don't own and like send that puppy out on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
So within your classroom, it's fine. Make sure you still cite it. But to the world, probably not your best choice.
So just a little asterisk on that nugget there then.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just something that probably needs to be said.
All right, good. Okay, my last one will be a short one, although I do have a bonus nugget. I'm just going to tease that right now. My second nugget is called Backpack Studio, which is an app that used to be called Boss Jock Studio. And you and I were out recently at high school doing podcasting with kids.
Yeah.
And we were showing them Anchor and how to get started with podcasts in terms of scripting and planning one out.
Yep.
And then recording and sharing them. Mm-hmm. So I thought this was an interesting app because what it lets you do is it's kind of an all-in-one studio type of thing. It doesn't let you publish and share them with the web, but, you know, this is a spoiler, or nobody really cares probably, but when we do our podcast, we record the audio and then I'll go back later and I will add the music at the beginning and the end and in between and put those things in there. With the Backpack Studio, you've got like a little soundboard where you can start recording your podcast. It will record it on your mobile device, and then you can tap like intro music and it will play the intro music and you can just talk at the same time. You don't have to like time it or judge it and put it in afterwards and things like that. And when you start talking, it will automatically duck the music down underneath you and make it quieter in the background, so you don't have to do that kind of stuff in editing if you want to talk over music. You can have sound effects queued up to go, like applause or laughter or horns and stuff like that. In the settings, there's all kinds of fun stuff like mic compression and low-cut filters and other technical stuff that you might think, hey, this is kind of interesting. There's a little notepad as well there, so you can have notes while you're recording. So the files that you bring in can come from your device. They can come from Dropbox. You can record sounds and make those just appear at different times. You can bring them in from Google Drive. So just a fun app that you could explore and experiment with. It's not a free app, but it offers some nice
How much did you say
tools.
It was? Did you
I
say?
did not say how much it was. It's not a cheap app. It's $9.99.
You spent $10 on an app?
Wow.
Holy shnikes.
The developer contacted me on Twitter and said,
Hey, Dr. Wiley.
Would you be interested in taking a look at my app? Here's a code if you are interested. And I said, sure, I'll take a look at it. So this is not a paid endorsement or a sponsorship. This is just my opinion from playing and trying the app.
Sure. And you were giving me a hard time for selling Seesaw before. All right. It's fine.
Hey, do you want to see my bonus nugget just for fun?
Oh, yeah. I can't.
Click on that.
Wait. Okay.
Click on that link.
Yes.
There's a website I came across randomly on the web. There's nothing to do with anything.
On the black web?
Yeah, the dark web, if you like. Yeah, it's called thispersondoesnotexist.com. Okay. So you click on it and you see a picture of a person, right?
Yes.
Refresh the page.
Oh, this is super weird. Okay. What's going on with his hair? Who's that?
So These people do not exist. An artificial intelligence machine is creating faces of people.
Like, are they taking different attributes of other people and then they're just making a person out of like 5 different people?
I don't know.
Well, that's why I'm wondering, like, because the pictures themselves don't seem quite right.
Yes.
Like, if you look at them.
Yes.
So that's why I'm wondering, like, are they pulling images from other places?
You'll sometimes see little strange blurry effects or something on things, but these are not real people. These are just random computer-generated faces of humans. And I think that's kind of a weird but fascinating thing at the same time.
Kind of terrifying,
isn't
too.
it?
I don't understand what's happening. I want to know how they're creating them, but this blog post is super long.
So, there you go. Thispersondoesnotexist.com. If you want to see a person that does not exist, that's the website for you.
What were you looking at that you came across that?
People were tweeting that out and saying, look at this. Isn't it amazing that computers can do this today? And I'm like...
I don't think it is.
Okay.
I think it's weird. I think they're pulling those from so like you could come across your own eyes on there.
You think so?
Yes, I do. It's not right. It's not okay. So, one thing before we sign off, did you see that Novel Effect kind of people were using it from when we shared it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
people
kind of
have
fun.
been using Novel Effect.
And they're really fun tweets, too. It sounds like people are really enjoying it. So.
One of those people were me.
You did?
I used it, and I tweeted out that...
Did you tag me in it?
I didn't, no.
Oh, that's nice.
Okay. Should I have tagged you in it?
No, but I didn't see it.
I was using it one night with my son. I thought I'd try it out on him and let him see it. We have quite a lot of the books that they have in their catalogue there. And I thought
a lot of classics, right?
Browsing through thinking, we have that one. And one of them was, and it was How Does Dinosaurs Say Goodnight? And we read that, and I just I tweeted out, hey, our bedtime story tonight was this. Yeah. And the creator of Novel Effect happened to see it. And he lives over in like Seattle, Washington, I think. And he said, well, I think we'll just do the same thing. And he took some pictures of him and his kids reading the same book. Awesome. And tweeted some other pictures of them like crawling around the floor and all the other stuff.
Sure, right.
But they're very active on social media. They love to hear that people are using their service.
Yeah,
and,
they are very active because like everything that's been... Like, we had a tweet from Heather Love Fleck, and she had also read How Do Dinosaurs Say Goodnight with her daughter, and she said that she loved it.
It's a really good one.
Yeah.
The audio's good on it.
And, you know, Novel Effect retweeted that and stuff, and actually added more to the tweet, I think, than when they responded, and so it's just a fun app. So if you still haven't tried it out, take a look, and thank you, Heather, for letting us know. I feel like there were some other people, but I don't have those other tweets at my fingertips right now. So, but yeah, it's always fun to hear from our listeners to know that they're trying stuff.
Take us home, Mindy.
All right. I am at Team Kearney on Twitter, and Jonathan is at Jonathan Wiley. Our team account is at DLGWAEA, and you can use our hashtag EdTechTakeout to tag the show. If you prefer, you can send us an email to podcast@gwaea.org.
So, until next time.
This has been the EdTech Takeout. We hope it hit the spot.
For more information on today's episode, please visit dlgwaea.org/podcast.